Well, President Obama taking on not only health care reform, but another controversial issue, immigration reform. And a key meeting at the White House tomorrow could be the first step toward that reform and for some very big changes for every American worker. Senators Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham, bipartisan that is, set to sit down with President Obama tomorrow, discussing plans for a national identification card. Now, this thing is meant to crack down on illegal workers, but our next guest says it could crack down on you and your privacy. Congressman Ron Paul is a Texas Republican. He's opposed to this card. Congressman, afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Nice to be with you.
It's a great pleasure to have you. All right, so what's the problem with the national ID card? Because its proponents say this is it. This is the thing that's going to finally help us stop illegal immigrants from coming in here and taking jobs.
Well, we do have a problem with illegal immigration, but I would say the problems of every American citizen carrying their papers for wherever they go is a much worse problem than illegal immigration. Besides, you can take care of illegal immigration otherwise. But people over this decades now in this country, there have been some who have wanted this national ID card, and they're looking for every opportunity to do it. And this is it. I mean, who knows what will come of it. My guess is they'll probably have a GPS chip in there so that they can measure everybody, every instant, no matter where they go. So to me, it violates the whole principles of privacy, the principles of the Constitution, the principles of the Republic, and to me is a gross distortion of what we should be doing. It's part of an authoritarian society, and dictatorships have this, but not a republic.
Okay, but tell me how it's invasive, because what Schumer and Graham are proposing, according to what I read, is your ID card would have either your fingerprint, your thumbprint on there, or it would have a reading of the veins in the back of your hand, and you'd have to be scanned by your prospective employer, and that way, if it came up that you weren't legal, they would catch you by the scan. How does that? I mean, it's not really GPS with the government following you. How does the scan of your fingerprint bother you?
Well, someday it may do this, but why should you have to do this? And they said, well, the equipment to scan your hand or your card is going to cost about $800. And they say, well, what about somebody who might only have 1 or 2 employees and they don't want to buy the equipment? Or you can go to a government office to do this. Can you imagine if the post office takes this up and you stand in line to take your potential employee over and try to get them scanned? I mean, the whole notion of us carrying our papers in everything that we do, every job we get, it will be a national identifying card. One thing that Graham, I think, argued, well, we already have Social Security cards.
Right.
Well, I have a Social Security card that says not to be used for identification purposes. That's what the original Social Security card said.
Well, but what about a driver's license? Virtually all of us have one of those.
Yeah, but I don't have to have a driver's license to get a job. You know, I didn't have to have it to come to Congress. I didn't have to show that.
Well, what about, Congressman, the people who are fired up about this, yes, they recognize it would result in somewhat of a loss of civil liberties, but they're very concerned about illegal immigration. And you say there are other ways of controlling it, but we're not doing it.
Well, that's a failure of enforcing our laws, and one of the problems that we have is that we have a failed economic system that makes immigrants a threat to individuals because of our weak economy. So if we had a decent economy, we'd probably be begging for people to come in and work, because there would be, and quite frankly, a couple of years ago, I had as many people come to my office looking for immigrants to come in to work as I did people screaming and hollering because we had too many.
What do you think?
We were short.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I would want to get your thoughts on this before I let you go. What do you think the government might do to us if we all had a national ID card?
Well, they would monitor everything that we do. And surveillance, the lack of privacy. It's always for good purposes. Everything is for good, and they're going to get rid of illegal immigration. They're going to find the criminals, but they're also going to monitor every single person, every single thing they do. It's sort of this idea of why not have cameras every place on every street corner, because we'll catch the bad guy. Well, why don't they have cameras in our house in case there's child beating or wife beating? I mean, that's when one thing leads to another. You either believe in freedom or you don't. If you think you need supervision and surveillance constantly by your government, and right now, the degree of confidence and trust in our government is very, very low. To turn this additional tool over to the government, to me, should outrage the American people, and so far the people I hear from are outraged.
So interesting to listen to your thoughts on that. The meeting happens tomorrow at the White House. The White House has taken no position on it thus far, but Graham's a Republican, Schumer's a Democrat. We'll see whether they get it through this time. Congressman Ron Paul, thank you so much for your thoughts on it.
Thank you.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it, away from the fog of the controversy.
The most important thing that has happened so far, the Supreme Court has upheld the individual mandate, essentially affirming that President Obama's health care law is indeed constitutional. And the Congress did not exceed its authority when it essentially ordered every American to buy health insurance.
What's up, guys? Now that ObamaCare is passed, let's go and take a look and see what is in ObamaCare. If you go to, and I'll put all the links in the box. If you go to HR 3962, this is a bill that was written back in 2009, October 29, 2009. If you go down to page, I think maybe 1501, this is the FDA administration. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, it talks about National Medical Device Registry. And if you read down, it talks about implementing and it talks about Class 3 medical devices, and that's like pacemakers and stuff. But this right here, it says, and this is a very open-ended bill. It means they can do whatever they want and have vague language. But it says, may include, as the Secretary determines, who is Obama's puppet, Pelosi, as she deems appropriate, and specifies in regulation a Class 2 device that is life-supporting or life-sustaining. What is a Class 2 device? Well, if you go to the FDA, a Class 2 Special Controls Guidance Document, implantable radio frequency transponder system for patent identification and health information. And if you go back here, it's all about data registry, medical device registry, health information, implantable. If you go over here to FDA, Class 2, implantable radio frequency transponder system for patient identification and health information for medical device registry. And also over here it talks about it, it goes through, this talks about the Class 2, the device is intended to enable access to secure patient identification and corresponding health information in humans. Implantable. What are they talking about? They're talking about the microchip.
And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over.
And it goes back to, this is a very open-ended bill. And it says that the Secretary may include, if she determines appropriate, which she is Obama's puppet, a Class 2 device that is life-supporting. Now, they tried to pass a bill like this a couple of years ago, and I think the whistleblowers came out, so they came out and redacted part of a bill, and they've come out with this very vague one. Now, what was in the other bill? This was HR 3200. Same wording, a Class 2 device that is implantable. This was in their thing. Life-supporting, life-sustaining. The same thing is what they put here, but they've worded it vague. Class 2 device, they've taken out implantable, that is life-supporting and life-sustaining. Even though it's vague, it still means the same thing as a Class 2 device that is implantable. This was in their actual bill. And when you go back, what is implantable? It goes back to the chip. And I think one reason why they took the thing out of the bill and has made it vague is because a couple years ago Ron Paul came out and he said buried deep within over 1,000 pages of this massive U.S. healthcare bill, in a non-discussed section titled C11 Section 2521. This is HR 3200, National Medical Device Registry, and which states its purpose as, he quotes that part of the law, and then goes on to say, in a real world speak, according to this report, this new law, when finally implemented, provides the framework for making the United States the first nation in the world to require each and every one of its citizens to have implanted in them a radio frequency identification microchip for the purpose of controlling who is or isn't allowed medical care in their country. They have been talking about the microchip for a while, and it's getting closer and closer to them wanting to implement it. And now that ObamaCare has passed, they wanted to establish a national medical device registry, as the Secretary deems appropriate, a Class 2 device that is life-supporting. Class 2 device, implantable, Class 2 device. This is on like page 1505 or 1506 or 8, but the purpose of this is to collect data from the device, and it deals with claims data, patient survey data, and you go down to electronic health records. But this right here, any other data deemed appropriate by the Secretary. What it means is, it starts out as medical. You get the chip put in your arm. It's a little computer. They can do whatever they want and program it to do different stuff. But this right here is a smoking gun. We only want, your data. That's all we want. Just your health records is all we want. And then bam, any other data deemed appropriate by the Secretary. What if that data is your bank account? Just something to think about. Any other data deemed appropriate by the Secretary. Then if you go over here, this is some more interesting wording. There's a lot. There's like over 1,500 pages or almost 2,000. But here's another one. Medical device surveillance efforts. That's just something to think about. Surveillance. I love that term. And they've already been deemed that these chips have GPSs in them. And all they want to do is hook you up to the network. That's all they want to do, is hook you up to the system, to the beast system. It starts out as medical, and then we know where it goes from here. And if you go over here, there's another one. Enable for real time. The determination of an individual's financial responsibility at the point of service. This is some crazy wording. You can figure out what you want to think about it, but enable the real-time information, the determination of an individual's financial responsibility at the point of service. And if you go over here, the effective date when this will be established, and it says no later than 36 months after the date of the enactment of this act. Now, I don't know much about bills and stuff, so this could either mean, I've seen a lot of people talk about March 2013. If you look at the beginning of this bill, it was October 2009, which would leave it October of 2012. Or it could be 36 months from the day it was passed, which would make it June 2015. I don't know, but it says that they have no later than 36 months to enact all this stuff. And some people will go to Snopes and look this up, and they'll come off and it's like Snopes say, oh, this is all fake. Now HR 3200 was shot down. That's the one that had this wording in it, but it was shot down. But the Snopes hadn't updated either. But Snopes isn't that reliable, because Snopes says that Obama's birth certificate is real. And we all know that is the fakest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I don't get much into people's dreams on YouTube. I know I got a lot of videos about dreams. You take a dream with a grain of salt until it happens. But this woman, Karen Sarah, she put out a video a couple months ago that I've never gotten out of my mind. And basically, God gave her a dream about the tribulation starts around 2015. When they start implementing the chip, and it's got GPS in it. It's a wild dream, but I just click on this link right here to take you to her dream. You can watch it with a grain of salt, but I've never forgot it. But with everything going on, This video I made a while back, Obama Leopard of Daniel, I didn't put any of my opinions in there. I just put everything that Obama has said and done. It really makes you think, is he the leopard? The more and more stuff that goes on, it really makes you think, is he the leopard mentioned in Daniel? I mean, passing Obamacare, Class 2 devices, I mean, the chips, I mean, so much stuff is happening biblically. I can't even wrap my mind around everything that's going on right now. But they just make this the new marvel. Ooh, I want a chip. Please give me a chip. Yeah, you get a chip and your life is over.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
Now, this is a slide from an industry consortium called the Auto ID Center that wants to promote the use of these tiny tracking devices, the RFID tags, for a variety of different reasons. Perhaps the most disturbing of them, in addition to counting humans, would be to count and number every item on the planet and use it to replace the barcode. So physical items could actually be identified and numbered and linked from a distance and tracked. Now, one of the things on this slide that they talk about is it would take 23 bits, that's the numerical information it would have to contain in that tiny speck of dust-sized chip to number every automobile on the planet. It would take 29 bits, or zeros and ones, a string of 29 zeros and ones to number all the computers. And here's the creepy part. It would only take 33 zeros and ones to give a unique identifying number to every human being on the planet. So 001, 011, do that 33 times, and you've got a unique number for everyone. Now, the disturbing part here is that this industry consortium, which consists of some of the biggest global companies in the world, including Procter & Gamble, including Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, International Paper, big companies, Coca-Cola, these guys should be thinking about products, and yet on here they're naming human beings. So this technology, with all of this backing, by the way, the Department of Defense and the U.S. Postal Service are also backers of this technology. The fact that they're putting human beings on their slides and their internal documents as a way to utilize this technology is a little bit worrisome. And definitely, by putting one of these numbers into one of these verichips and implanting it into a human being, you could verify them. You could have a number associated with them. You could link that number up to a database, and you could require them to present that in order to buy or sell for the reasons that we talked about. The company producing these chips is a company called Alien Technology, and you can't really see it very well, but it's got, I think, one of the creepiest logos I've ever seen. It's black, it's got red on a black background, it has what looks like almost 3 claw marks sort of screeching across the screen. And in fact, most of the imagery associated with this technology is quite dark. At a conference I attended about 2 months ago, there was a gentleman from Philip Morris talking about this technology. He was talking to a bunch of global executives from global companies who deal with moving products around. And he was telling them, you know, when this comes out, when we have radio devices and everything, when we're tracking everything all over the planet, you're going to need to really change the way you run your warehouse in your back room. And do you know what he said? And he meant this in terms of you're going to have to totally change the way you do business and revolutionize your thinking about moving products. But his statement was, this technology will destroy our way of life. The purpose of this technology is to destroy our way of life. Now, it's interesting because in his saying that, the whole room went silent. By the way, these are people who love the idea of tracking things as they move around. But even then, the room went silent because that was a pretty heavy statement. And I don't think he meant that it's going to absolutely destroy our way of life as we live day to day. But I also don't think he realized the symbolic importance of what he had said. Because if we do actually number every human being, and if we do number every physical item, and if we can keep track of all of that through databases and through computer systems, it will actually destroy our way of life. There will be no more freedom. There will be no more privacy or no more ability to walk around and even talk to other people freely, because your every move will be monitored and tracked. Right, there's the chips. And these devices, as I said, this industry consortium, they've already begun appearing, these radio frequency devices, in consumer products. What you're seeing here is a package of Gillette razor blades that's been equipped with one of these unique numbers, making it trackable from a distance. The purpose here was shoplifting prevention, but ultimately they want to put one of these on every physical item that we buy, meaning that not only would you be identifying yourself with your chip as you made your purchase, but all of the things you bought would also be identified with you, linked in a database. And in essence, it would make it difficult in a world where, let's say, there is the mark of the beast, and you've got a brother-in-law who's maybe willing to take the mark of the beast and give you the stuff that he buys so you can survive. In a world like that, if he bought a shirt, paid for it with his mark, and then handed it to you, that shirt could be tracked at a distance. It could be identified as you walk through a doorway, and they could say, hey, wait a minute, you're not Joe Schmo. You don't have the chip in your, you know, this. In fact, now we've identified you as being the guy who's in trouble for not taking the chip, and now we're going to scan everything you're wearing, and we'll know where you got it, and we'll know who your accomplices were who helped you obtain these items. All right. Now, one of the things that's going to have to happen globally, in addition to identifying everyone, linking everyone with the satellites and the database and the number payment systems, getting everybody using credit cards away from cash and getting everyone to identify themselves, is have it be universal and standardized. And there is a massive push right now in industry and in retail to do that. It's called oneness. And in fact, this is from the Retail Systems 2003 in Chicago, creating oneness among systems, supply chain, and business. And the idea is that everything will be standardized.
The whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one-world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control the people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Brain-machine interfaces, a technology that marks the beginnings of a new kind of man, the cyborg, the robot man. Neuro-robotic technology can be applied in different directions. The brain controlling the machine, or, inversely, the machine controlling the brain.
So we're just going to go through each one of these arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do all of those, and he'll just do it.
But a third option is also possible. One brain controlling another brain via the interface. How does this work in the case of the robot rat? All you need, in fact, are 3 well-positioned electrodes. 2 electrodes in the sensory cortex of the rat send stimuli to the zones connected to its whiskers. When the rat follows the signal sent to its left side and turns in that direction, it is rewarded with a discharge into its pleasure zone. It is rewarded with a discharge into its pleasure zone. This discharge produces a flow of dopamine, providing instant pleasure. This zone is also called the brain's reward center. We possess a reward center too. We possess a reward center too, just like the rat. In the process of creating a cyborg, this is square one. If we send a stimulus to the zone related to the hand, we create a sensation in that area. In the same way, via the motor cortex, we can provoke an involuntary movement. We can provoke an involuntary movement. In Boston, the first machine-brain interface trials have already been conducted on paraplegic patients. Thanks to an electrode chip called the brain gate, they can operate a computer remotely by thought. So it's no coincidence that these researches are partly funded by DARPA, the U.S.'s defense research agency. Neuroscience will bring us the soldier of the future.
This is a new deal, gentlemen.
Enemy center of gravity is downtown.
Should get a good view from here.
A remote-controlled soldier? A soldier who in the midst of the battle can be sent crucial data and information downloaded into his brain? A soldier who can control his fears?
Oh, so cute, little puppy. A trick. That's mean. That was mean, Matari. Look what I do.
Dude, look at we people all there.
Dude, those two people.
You see who pulled up in the white car? I shot that dude in the white car, ran in.
Oh yes, you're gonna get it. Yes, naughty little boys. Yes. 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 Yeah.
We possess a reward center too, just like the rat. If we send a stimulus to the zone related to the hand, we create a sensation in that area. In the same way, via the motor cortex, we can provoke an involuntary movement.
You little shoot it at us! You little die!
We are going to reach a level of control. The more we learn about the brain, the more researchers discover how little our consciousness and will control our choices and behaviors.
And each and every one of you watching this, every single one of you, is just as important as the people who were our founding fathers. You are just as important as the Sons of Liberty who met in the 1770s to philosophize about freedom, to philosophize about a republic, to philosophize about a truly free, country with a republic.
There's 1 billion people on the planet. It only takes one to change it. Are you the one? There may be everybody in your classroom bugging out. Your whole school may be on fire with kids wild and bringing guns. But are you the one? Nature has a way of abundance. Nature puts out a lot of stuff looking for the one. So if you're going to go along with the trend of let's just kill each other, let's disrespect each other, then you're part of nature's plan as well, to be part of just the excess. But if you think more of yourself than just being the excess, you'll do more for yourself. Are you the one? Everybody's not gonna make it. But you have an opportunity to save yourself.
Well, we don't have to look back thousands or even hundreds of years to see how dangerous this present-day situation is. We can look back to Bolshevik Russia. We can see the takeover by the Bolsheviks talking about the people's revolution, talking about the positive change. And Lenin came in, and then Stalin. The fact is that over 40 million Russians between 1925 and 1940, good Russian, people who were Christians, people who had their own businesses, people who were educated, they were exterminated because they had their own business, because they were educated, because they believed in God's law. We can look over at Germany. Germany was in a very, very terrible economic situation, and this very charismatic leader called Adolf Hitler comes in. He makes the roads good, and he promises a better life for the people. And within 10 years, you see a completely nationalized, centralized, dictatorial situation where millions and millions of people were exterminated. And then we can go to Maoist China. Mao came in, he promised change, he promised a better life, and within 5 years, 60 million Chinese were exterminated. They don't teach that. They don't teach that in the schools these days. And it wasn't that long ago. And I pray to God that this will not happen in the United States. And the way it won't happen is if you and your friends and all of us together take action to say no. This country is too precious. It's too wonderful. It's too good of a place to lay down as a victim.
This is the center of endurance. And endurance is what wins wars. Not how many people you kill, but how long can you endure. George Washington lost almost every battle he had, but he endured. He out-endured the British. And that's how the battle was won. Endurance.
Greatness could arise once we break the shackles of the government that's holding us back. One thing America has more than any other country is an entrepreneurial spirit. One thing we have more than any other country is the ability to be innovators.
As political activist Mario Savio said,
"There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart, that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all."
Humankind is at a historic crossroads. The forces of globalism are marching towards absolute despotism. Look in the mirror, count the cost, and decide, are you going to let history repeat itself? Or will you stand tall with freedom lovers everywhere and stop the completion of a world dictatorship?
What would you do if your boss said you had to have a computer ID chip implanted under your skin or you'd be fired? Well, we're not there quite yet, but one Ohio company is doing something that has some people wondering if we're headed down that road. Here's technology correspondent Daniel Seberg with tonight's Eye Opener.
There's my chip right there.
So you can actually see it.
It's about the size of a grain of rice, and it feels like it too. But what that tiny chip can and can't do has become the source of much concern and confusion.
I was in a grocery store, and a couple ladies said, "Hey, you're the guy with the chip in your arm, aren't you? You know, run across the scanner so we can see if it gets us a discount on groceries."
Sean Darks is the CEO of CityWatcher.com, a small company in Cincinnati that's the first U.S. business to use chip implants in its employees.
What you're looking at here is recorded footage back in August of a number of drug deals.
CityWatcher provides video surveillance for clients and for the police. And the video that it collects, like this drug bust, is the company's biggest asset. And they say they need to keep it under more than just lock and key.
You might have one of these where you work, a key card that allows access to different parts of the office. A lot of businesses use them, but here at CityWatcher, there's one particular room where you need either the implanted chip in your arm or a keychain. And Sean says the choice is up to the employee.
CityWatcher employees Chuck Gordon and Kari Williams require access to the secure server room where the video is stored. One got the implant, and the other decided not to. He carries the chip in a keychain instead.
That's one of the reasons that I don't want to do it. It's creepy to have knowing that something is there the entire time.
But Chuck, you could get over that feeling?
Right now, I guess the big thing is Big Brother's to be watching you over this. Basically, the chip's dormant except unless you go in front of the access panel. And that's the only time it activates. So other than that, I really have no worries about it.
Chip implants have been common in pets for several years, giving the owner peace of mind that their lost animal could be identified. And for retail giant Walmart, the chips are used as smart barcodes to keep track of thousands of products. But for use in people, well, privacy advocates think we shouldn't open that door.
The concern is a privacy concern because when that chip is placed in you, it becomes a permanent form of identification. If it were a bracelet, for example, or an ID card, you might choose not to carry it or not to wear it, but if it's in your skin, you're pretty much stuck with it.
CityWatcher employee Chuck Gordon was so stuck on the idea that he accompanied his wife Mary as she got the implant for medical reasons.
Just go ahead and lay down up here for a minute.
So doctors can pull up a record of her allergies in an emergency.
You're going to feel like a little stick and then a bee sting, okay? And that's going to numb the skin up for us, okay?
At this point, if you're squeamish about needles, it's best to turn away for a second. Getting an implant is not a pretty sight.
A tiny little incision here. Put the needle in. We pull the needle out, and we put a Band-Aid on her, and she's chipped.
The doctor will send the unique 16-digit number on Mary's chip to the chip maker for safekeeping. But critics question the security of the system.
It is the case that chips have been hacked. It's possible to duplicate them. It's possible to commit fraud with them. And those are also risks for people who are using this chip.
3 out of the 5 CityWatcher employees who need access to the video room have opted to have the chip implanted. The other 2 carry their chips on a keychain. Either way, Sean Dark says his company's secrets are safe, and let the chips fall where they may.
Excuse me, sir. Forgot your receipt.
Checkout lines. Who needs them?
Have a nice day.
This is the future of e-business.
But some citizens are embracing the age of Big Brother. In Rotterdam, Holland, nightclub owner John Van Gallen has introduced a system of microchipping for his VIP patrons. It's almost like barcoding people.
Yeah, it is, because every chip got a number, and the number corresponds to the name and the picture. That's the way it is, yeah, it is.
The microchip has to be surgically inserted under the skin, which means you'll have to have it cut out if you want it removed. Did it hurt getting the chip in? Okay, can I have a look?
Yeah, of course.
It feels like a little grain of rice.
It's a rice, yeah.
Irving has had the chip for the past 4 years. Every time he buys a drink, he's scanned. And, like a human ATM, money comes off his account. You don't feel like you're giving up a little bit of your privacy, do you?
No. Yeah. It's just nice to have. You can say, I have a chip in my arm. I'm the first one in the whole world. I have a chip, and yeah.
Remember CCTV and monitoring. Thank you.
Big Brother is here to stay.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
Apologize, my camera is going to get a little shaky because I'm trying to hold it while I'm explaining what's going on. Currently, right now, we have 44 million Americans on food stamps. Change we can all believe in. And that number is growing consistently by the second, by the minute, by the hour, every single day. The economy is terrible. You guys know the dollar's going to die. This is why I'm coming to you today, though. Let me just break it down for you. You see, and I do apologize again for the shaky camera. I came across this. The Grocery Manufacturers of America, the Food and Marketing Institute, and the National Association of Chain Drugstores have collaborated with the U.S. government for immediate release. This is a plan set up back in 2004, actually. Data synchronization, fundamental to RFID success, according to the latest GMA FMI NACDS report. This is just explaining, basically what they're about to do, their plans, and how they're going to eliminate the EBT system and the WIG and all that good stuff. But I know you guys are probably going to say, well, that's not enough proof. The document can say anything. And if you need to see the actual document, here's the link up top. Here's the link right here for you. You can just pause the tape and, find a link on your own, because I'm not going to put it in the YouTube thing. Yeah, I know I'm lazy. But check this out. The United States Department of Agriculture. These are the people who came up with EBT, WIC, and food stamps. Along with the U.S. government. They collaborated with them and came up with this. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington, D.C. Advisory Committee on Biotechnology and 21st Century Agriculture. This was in August of this year, a few months back. They're just explaining the plans. All you have to do is go to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, type in biometrics or RFID, and this stuff is going to pop up. Very easy. Very easy. But let's go to the next one. For example, See, search results. U.S. United States Department of Agriculture. Search results. Biometric. I just hit the go button in all of the USDA. And the results were actually shocking because what came up was the year that the PDFs would pop up, the year they were made and modified. Now, I told you this was a plan back in 2004. The thing that made it very interesting is, look at that date. 2011, October 12th. Okay? Now look at what's attached to it. Use of biometric identification technology to reduce fraud in food stamp program. Basically, when you click on that, you're just going to be amazed. Amazed. So basically, it's time. They're going to destroy the program and bring on the chip. We are basically staring at Revelation 13 right here, today, November 3rd. We're staring at it. And then I came across this. United States Department of Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service. Voila. Introduction to Biometric Identification Technology, Capabilities and Applications to the Food Stamp Program. Nothing else to talk about. All you have to do is Google this stuff and it will pop right up. Nothing else to talk about. Because I know you guys are probably like, well, his credibility is shot, or where is he getting this stuff from? It's right in your face. That's where I'm getting it from. This is directly from the horse's mouth. They're about to end the food stamps, the WIC, the EBT. If you're not a Christian, I suggest you come to the Lord Jesus Christ. Here we see again, HDMA teams up with, HDMA teams up with the NACDS to examine RFID. Now, HDMA means the Healthcare Distribution Management Association, and NACDS means the National Association of Chain Drug Stores.
VeriChip, subsidiary of publicly traded Applied Digital, has added Tommy Thompson to its board of directors. The company hoping the former Health and Human Services Secretary can help accelerate the use of RFID for healthcare and security applications. Joining us to discuss the future of RFID and his plans for VeriChip, Tommy Thompson, former Health and Human Services Secretary, and Scott Silverman, Chairman and CEO of Applied Digital. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be on your program.
Ms. Thompson, I'll start with you. We're doing a poll today. Would you have one of these things implanted in your arm, or, I don't know, under your scalp, or wherever you put it?
You put it in your right arm, and it's very small, and it doesn't bother you at all, but it certainly is going to allow you to identify who you are, protect your child. If you have a new child that's born in a nursery, you can protect that child from having somebody walk off with it. You can also protect your loved ones in a nursing home so that you can put a bracelet on and identify that individual and be able to find that individual if that person wanders away. But I certainly would, and I think it's a coming thing. And the problem is that medical technology is so far behind that RFIDs are going to really be the impetus in order for us to get new technology in the medical field that's going to help people improve their quality of care. And that's what it's all about.
And I'm sorry, sir, did you just say you would get one implanted in your arm?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
That's it.
No concerns? No concerns at all? Because I have to admit, it makes me a little queasy.
And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Our constitutional journey did not stop then, and it must not stop now, Judge. And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that. And Judge, I need to know whether you will be a justice who believes that the constitutional journey must continue to speak to these consequential decisions, or that we've gone far enough in protecting against government intrusion into our autonomy, into the most personal decisions we make. Judge, that's why this is a critical moment.
We're going to go right back to Jan Crawford. She's had an opportunity to read more of the opinion. And Jan, what do you see?
Scott, we are processing what is in fact this complicated decision, but it appears the Chief Justice has joined with 4 of the court's liberals to uphold the mandate.
Jan, thank you very much. Headline of the hour. This is the most important thing that has happened so far. The Supreme Court has upheld the individual mandate, essentially affirming that President Obama's health care law is indeed constitutional. And the Congress did not exceed its authority when it essentially ordered every American to buy health insurance.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
I'm just going to test this. That's where I get the bottom of the program. Okay. So it's live. So pain management. Have you ever heard of Lamaze class? Like for pregnant ladies? So the breathing technique, it's got a very specific purpose. When they're going like that, it's not because of the breathing. What they're trying to do is make the brain focus on a rhythm, right? And timing and keeping that timing. So what they do is they focus on a point anywhere. Just focus your eyes on a point. And you start breathing in a very deliberate rhythm. So you're like, it's in, out, and so that process of focusing on that breathing will alleviate some of the pain while your brain's busy. Basically, you're overloading the CPU. So you can try to do that, or you can just grin and bear it, or whatever. So we're gonna get rid of the animal chip. Oh, they don't preload these ones. That's great. Oh no, that is it. So that's the chip with the biobond coating, this white coating. So that coating is what the body grows into and locks in place. So we want to get rid of that. Now this has got isopropyl alcohol, so that's going to be quite stingy. Get that ready. Okay, so that's going to be good. So basically we're going to look for a place right in between. So you've got a nice squishy area there, which is great. So we're basically just going to pinch up and go in, inject, and then I'm going to press and pull out, and then I'm going to give you the gauze and just put pressure. Well, of course, it's brand new. I'm going to use this to just poke it.
Are you allergic to shell?
Ready?
Woo! It's mine.
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna stick the Band-Aid on here.
Thanks for letting us watch.
Okay. So
That was pretty exciting.
a little bit of blood in there. So go ahead and just keep pressure there.
All right.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, I will be exalted in the earth. I want to thank
God is the one and only true living God, the creator of heaven and the universe. Jesus Christ is God. Jesus Christ is God. Jesus Christ is God. Jesus Christ is God.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
It's a radio frequency identification, or RFID tag. The same technology used to tag animals to help reunite a pet with its owner. RFID has now won Food and Drug Administration approval for use in humans.
But it occurs to me, I've got them in my dogs. Why wouldn't I have them in small children, too? VeriChip, subsidiary of publicly traded Applied Digital, has added Tommy Thompson to its board of directors.
Molly Phillips hopes her worst nightmare never happens again. To make sure, she had a new device called the VeriChip, a computer chip about the size of a grain of rice placed under her skin.
If I had the chip, I could travel all over the world. That would give me the freedom of living a life without doubt.
An Ohio company has become the first American firm to implant silicon chips in employees to track their every move. Don't be surprised if your company asks to tag you.
Then there is the issue of privacy and whether employers might start demanding employees get the chip implanted as a form of ID.
In the 1980s, you take a polygraph test to get a job. In the 1990s, it was drug testing. A little later on, it was reading your email. And in each step along the line, you start to ask the question, is the law going to create any zones of safety?
Actually, it's an inexpensive solution versus a retina scanner or a fingerprint ID. Those solutions are rather expensive. A retina scan, a fingerprint ID.
Now, many of us carry around an equivalent to this tiny little chip already, only they don't look like this. They look like this.
Finished. We now have over 60 hospitals that have agreed to implement the system, so that time is nearing.
The way it works is it actually picks up and amplifies ambient electromagnetic energy from the reader devices. And if you have one of these things in your arm and you get within range of a powerful electromagnetic field, it can actually burn you.
Is there a vast RFID conspiracy out there that is they would say this is a slippery slope. This is the first thing. This is where you lull us into a false sense of security. We all get these things, and then the next thing, I don't know, it's
making
like
Soylent Green.
Like the truth. So that time is nearing.
It's closer than you think. Welcome to the future.
More now of our special coverage here tonight, life in the U.S. in 10 years' time. By that time, there may be all kinds of new ways to safeguard and identify all those things that make each of us unique, our faces, even our fingerprints, even our eyes. Here now with more on the future of technology, NBC's Tom Costello.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
The technology is based on answering one simple question. Am I who I say I am?
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist. Today's facial recognition software starts with the eyes. Then it maps out the contours of the face and compares that against a database of millions, a database that's growing by the day. What's next? At the University of Bath in England, researchers predict big changes for consumers.
I think it is possible to free us completely of our wallets and keys using biometric technology, if that's what people want in 10 years' time.
In fact, it's already here. The latest home security locks use fingerprints to control deadbolts. And at the Jewel Osco grocery store in Chicago, some customers pay using their fingerprints. No paper or plastic.
You don't really need anything other than your hand, and you already got that with you.
So will future department stores scan our irises, like in the movie Minority Report, then offer products catered to who we are?
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap.
Experts say that technology is here now. The challenge is to safeguard our privacy in a brave new world. Tom Costello, NBC News, Alexandria, Virginia.
Highly touted healthcare innovation that could actually have a hazard to your health. The product in question, those special microchips, first implanted in pets, encoded with information to help you get your lost dog or cat home safely. But as we reported, they're now being implanted in humans as well, encoded with a person's medical records. The FDA called it one of 2005 top innovation technologies. But could the chips pose serious medical risks? Here's ABC's Dan Harris on that.
You're going to feel a little pinch, maybe a little bit of pressure, okay? 1, 2, 3, and we'll be done.
The microchips have been implanted in hundreds of people, like Ida Frankel, who has Alzheimer's. If she gets lost and ends up in a hospital, doctors can scan her arm and get all of her medical records. But when the government approved these chips for human use 3 years ago, it did not mention that there were studies showing that similar chips caused malignant tumors in lab rats and mice. Cancer doctors who spoke to the Associated Press, which broke this story, say you can't always make the leap between cancer in mice and cancer in humans. But Dr. Robert Ben Ezra said there is no way in the world, having read this information, that I would have one of those chips implanted in my skin. The head of the company marketing these microchips to humans says the company had no idea about those studies.
We recognize we have a corporate responsibility to review these studies, to look at other studies, to do new studies if necessary, and do what is appropriate after reviewing all of the information in all regards, and we intend to do that.
Perhaps the most immediate concern is for household pets. Thousands of them have been implanted with microchips, including this reporter's 2 cats. If they run away, animal control officers could scan them and send them back to me rather than putting them to sleep.
The risk of getting lost and turning up at a shelter or pound where you're not recognized and perhaps ending up getting put to sleep is a bigger risk, I think.
Perhaps worth the risk for animals, but for humans, doctors recommend further studies first. For Good Morning America, Dan Harris, ABC News, New York.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
Implantable human chips. Supporters hail the technology as a medical marvel, but critics warn that the potential risks are real.
Well, they talked about, for example, electrical hazards. This thing is by no means inert. The way it works is it actually picks up and amplifies ambient electromagnetic energy from the reader devices. And if you have one of these things in your arm and you get within range of a powerful electromagnetic field, it can actually burn you.
Oh, and by the way, it can kill you if you get out of line. A closer look at the who and the why behind this idea.
All right, this next story may sound like something out of, well, a Hollywood thriller. A Saudi inventor has created a killer microchip. It's designed to track terrorists and criminals and, well, you can think of somebody. Not only does it include a GPS device, it also has a lethal dose of cyanide, which can be activated at any time. You get my point? The inventor's bid for a patent has been rejected in Germany. Joining us now this morning to talk about it, Jake Ward, deputy editor of Popular Science. Okay, this is pretty macabre, pretty sinister and nefarious. How exactly would this work?
Well, there's a category of technology that involves GPS tracking systems being shrunk down to the size where you could actually implant it surgically. And we've seen a number of applications for this. This is without question the most sinister version of it that I've certainly heard of. You know, and the notion of tracking criminals is not new, but the notion of killing them remotely, I think, is a whole new thing.
Yeah, and Germany says, look, we're not going to approve this.
That's
because for that very purpose. And apparently, in some of the paperwork in applying for the patent, you know, you could track fugitives from justice, terrorists, illegal immigrants, criminals, political opponents, defectors, and Saudi Arabians who don't return home from pilgrimage. It's a little bit wild.
I agree. I mean, the thing about you know, this kind of patent is Germany has very tight laws about making sure that you're not registering something that really is just a bad idea, a scary idea. And in this case, this guy obviously has some very strong feelings about what it would be used for, but it just seems a little outlandish.
Yeah. Well, terrorist groups might be interested. I'm sure they'd be happy to grant their own form of a patent for that.
Sure.
The bigger world, though, of GPS, talk to us about how it's being used to, for example, track sex offenders?
Sure. The Washington State Legislature right now is considering the possibility of registering perhaps 100 sex offenders with a GPS chip that's implanted in their shoulder because they found that a few of them have been wearing them on their wrists and then have cut them off, which just defeats the purpose. And so, but the larger world of this technology is actually pretty happy stuff. I mean, there is new technology for tracking Alzheimer's patients, you know, who
who may wander away.
Right. Right.
Sure.
Tracking the vital signs of professional athletes from the sideline. You know, there's been a couple of cases in which, you know, football players have collapsed of heat exhaustion, and seeing the early warning signs of that, there's technology that sort of allows you to do that remotely. You know, even something as benign as keeping track of your dog, you know, a radio frequency tag implanted in your pet, the vet, you know, finds a stray, scans it, and finds its rightful owner in an instant.
Yeah. Do you see an explosion of the use of GPS devices? And obviously a lot of people are concerned about an intrusion of privacy.
Absolutely, sure. I mean, I think that there is a trade-off there, and obviously this you know, the inventor who filed for this patent has gone across the line in terms of privacy. But the use of GPS in the future will allow you to, you know, you'll never lose your wallet again. You'll never lose your keys again. It's that kind of stuff where you're going to, you know, you'll be able to beep any object you own, you know, and find it in the house. And so, you know, there's the vicious expression, and then there's the really, really helpful expression that I think we'll see in the future.
You know, I lose socks in the dryer. I don't know how that happens. Maybe that would help me in that regard. Jake Ward, deputy editor of Popular Science. Interesting stuff. Thanks very much.
I've got my little buddies microchipped. Baby
Do you really?
Basha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, just in case they get away, and then you bring them and you take them to like the checkout counter at the grocery store, and you scan them, and then they say, hey, I belong to Megyn Kelly.
That is very cool, yeah.
Their chip has been approved by the FDA as a Class II medical device in order to identify high-risk patients in an emergency situation. It's elective, it's voluntary, and it is certainly critical to the evolution of information technology in healthcare.
Oh, go ahead.
You have one in your arm right now.
That's correct.
Where is it?
It's in the upper right arm. It's a simple injection process, just like getting a shot of penicillin.
Is it painful?
Not at all. They numb the area slightly. You don't feel it. They put a Band-Aid on it. Within 2 days, you don't even know it's there.
And can we, I don't know, did you get a good shot of this, Peter, the chip? I don't know how tight you can get on it, but these are small, and you've got a scanner with you right now.
That's correct.
Right?
This is the passive scanner.
The critics would say, and I listened to it, and I'm trying to figure it out, but they use the "they" word a lot. Is there a vast RFID conspiracy out there that is they would say this is a slippery slope. This is the first thing. This is where you lull us into a false sense of security. We all get these things. And then the next thing you know, I don't know, it's
making
like
Soylent Green.
Like the Trilateral Commission, or the whole world gets taken over, like in Terminator 3 or something. Is anything? I mean, do we need to worry?
There's no conspiracy, Joe.
You sure?
I'm sure.
I'm looking at you. I saw your eyebrow. It twitches when you say that a little bit.
And I'm looking back at you. And let me say this. Let me say this. As far as the RFID industry is concerned.
Now, we've heard before of chips being implanted in the body, but here at Reading University, they're looking at something else. What happens when one of those chips gets a computer virus? Well, here's Dr. Mark Gasson, surrounded by forms of robotic equipment. What is this research actually about?
Well, we're very interested in new applications of technology and implantable technologies. So RFID tags have been used some time for implanting in animals, for example, to identify them. If they go missing, you can scan them, get a number, and cross-reference that with a database. But this technology has really developed over the last 5 or 10 years. And really, now we should consider these devices to be more like little computers. They can store information, manipulate information, do simple computations. So when we're implanting this type of device, really we're implanting it like a miniature computer.
Now, you've actually got a chip implanted in your hand, haven't you?
Yeah, I have one in my hand. What that allows me to do is, for example, have secure access to the building. It allows me to use my mobile phone because it can recognise, the phone can recognise me via the chip, but no one else can use my phone. So these are fairly simple applications of this technology, but with these advances in technology come new risks.
And just show us what you've done to that chip.
Well, what I can do is actually read the contents of the device. This last part of all the information inside the device is actually a computer virus. So what this allows the chip to do is when it accesses a system, the system reads the contents and then gets infected by the virus. And then any other device using the system then becomes infected by the virus as well.
Now, you've given the chip a virus. Why should that matter?
As we look to the future, I think this sort of technology, implantable technologies, is actually going to become fairly commonplace. If we look at medical technologies, for example, heart pacemakers, this is a deep brain stimulator unit which is implanted in the chest and actually has electrodes that go into the centre of the brain. If we look at these types of applications of implantable technology, there are benefits, but there are also risks associated with that.
So we're looking at a future where you could have some advanced medical device inside you, and that could be infected by some other chip inside you.
Yeah, that's right. That's quite possible. And equally, someone who's carrying an infected medical device could feasibly infect someone else.
So we've got a future where we could all become one sort of great big walking computer infected with a virus.
That's quite possible.
So just to stress, that is a glimpse into the future. There's no danger right now of somebody with, say, a pacemaker getting a computer virus.
Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that it could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. this calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is man's number. His number is 666.
If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on the forehead or on the hand, he too will drink of the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of his wrath. He will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment rises forever and ever. There is no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and his image, or for anyone who receives the mark of his name.
There is a lot of speculation on how this will all turn out, but you can be sure of this. Anyone who gets the mark of the beast, 666, is doomed. There is no turning back, no forgiveness, no second chances, no redemption, and no salvation. Don't think to yourself, God will understand. He'll forgive me for taking the mark. He's merciful, and he doesn't want me to lose my life. I don't have to worry. I can still be saved, right? Wrong. If you get the mark of the beast, 666, on your forehead or on your hand, you're finished. You will not be saved. You have claimed loyalty to the beast. There will be great stress and tribulation at the time that the mark is given out. It will probably seem like the best thing to do to survive, solving many problems. Great pressure will be put upon you to get it, like torture, loss of life, loss of job, loss of children, loss of possessions, reputation, house, freedoms, and limbs, etc. Prophets have been warned that the devil will not want to let those who refuse off with a simple beheading, but he will have them gruesomely tortured to get them to take his mark. You won't be able to buy or sell anything without the mark. At that point in time, you must be ready to die rather than get the mark. You must be ready to face execution rather than to take the mark of the beast, no matter what the punishment. Don't compromise, and make no mistake about it. Those who get the mark, even believers, will be condemned to God's full wrath forever. But there is hope for those who are left behind, who refuse to take the mark of the beast, and are killed for their faith.
I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given authority to judge. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony for Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received his mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
Did Jesus really reveal the name of the Antichrist? I report, you decide. This is an updated and more accurate and understandable version of my previous upload on this same topic. In Luke chapter 10, verse 18, we read these words of Jesus. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. These words are written in Greek and translated to English. However, Jesus probably spoke these words in Aramaic. Aramaic is a part of the Northwest Semitic group of languages, which also includes Hebrew. Aramaic script was widely adopted for other languages and is ancestral to the Arabic and Hebrew alphabets. Two words in this text are of particular interest. The words are lightning and heaven. Jesus said, "I saw Satan falling as lightning from heaven." In Greek, the word for lightning is astrape. It has a direct Hebrew equivalent. From Strong's Hebrew Dictionary, words 1299 and 1300 from the Hebrew language, the word for lightning is barak. In the Greek text of Luke chapter 10, the word translated as heaven in Greek is uranos. It can mean the heaven of God, but it also carries with it the connotation of the heights, or a high place, or the domain of Satan himself. Evidence of this is found in the same book of Luke, in chapter 8, verse 5, when Jesus speaks of the gospel being attacked demonically. He uses these words, "And the birds of the air devoured it." Here, the most accepted context by biblical scholars is that the birds are the demonic realm and the air is the realm of Satan, from on high, or the heights. The Greek word used here for air is uranos, evidence that this Greek word is not always used in the sense of the heaven of God, but it can be used for the heights or the high places or the domain of Satan himself. In Luke chapter 10, verse 18, this is the exact context of Jesus' words. "I saw Satan falling like lightning from the heights, or the high places, or from Satan's domain on high, or from the heavens or heaven." If Jesus' word, translated in the English text as heaven, was referring to the heaven of God, the Hebrew word would be shamayim. More than likely, though, according to the context of Luke 10 and Luke 8, Jesus was not referring to the shamayim of God, but rather the domain of Satan. Now consider this amazing fact. The book of Isaiah is the source of origin for the Christian concept of Satan or Lucifer. In Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 19 especially. In Isaiah chapter 14, verse 14, we hear these words spoken by Satan himself. "I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." This matches the exact context of Jesus' words in Luke chapter 10. In the verses of Isaiah that refer directly to Lucifer, several times it is mentioned that Satan has fallen from the heights or from the heavens. The Hebrew word used in this text for the heights from which Satan fell is Hebrew word number 1116 in the Strong's Hebrew Dictionary, and it is pronounced Bama. Bama is most commonly used to refer to a high sacred place, as well as to the heights of the heavens or clouds. So in Jesus' prophecy of Luke chapter 10, verse 18, if spoken by a Jewish rabbi in Hebrew, influenced by the poetry of Isaiah, he would use, in one form or another, depending upon the exact wording and context, the words that come from the root forms of these two Hebrew words, barak and bama, to describe Satan falling like lightning from on high. Hebrew for lightning is barak, and Hebrew for the heights or the high places is bama. This fact is indisputable. So is Jesus actually giving us a clue as to who the future Antichrist might be? Many believe so. It is possible that it is merely a strange coincidence. Yet it cannot be denied. If Hebrew words were used to describe Jesus' statement about Satan falling or coming to earth, perhaps as a man in the form of the Antichrist, the Hebrew words barak and bama would be used.